Now, for what's tipping the scales of justice, we're waiting to see if the defendant in the military wife trial will take the stand. Friday, the jury saw video of the moments leading up to the of Ashley Henning, as she and her husband, Jordan, were arguing in their kitchen after Ashley's birthday party. Things escalated quickly. Absolutely horrific what's seen in that video. And Henning could be seen crying in front of the jury while that video was being played.
June 5th, 2023, Elizabethtown, Kentucky. A warm summer night filled with the sounds of laughter, music, and clinking glasses as friends gathered to celebrate a birthday that should have been unforgettable for all the right reasons. 37-year-old Ashley Henning, a vibrant military wife, devoted mother, and proud black woman, stood at the center of it all. She was radiant, dressed in a way that reflected her spirit, bold, confident, unapologetically alive. To the outside world, Ashley's life looked picture-perfect: a husband in uniform, a beautiful home, and a circle of friends who adored her. But behind the closed doors of that home, cracks had been forming, cracks no one at the party could see. Hours after the candles were blown out, those cracks would split open into tragedy. The same house that had echoed with birthday cheers would fall silent, broken only by the sharp crack of gunfire that turned a celebration into a crime scene. Ashley wasn't just another name in the headlines. She was a woman of strength, a woman of service. Friends remember her laugh as contagious, her presence magnetic. To her teenage son, she was a rock, his biggest cheerleader, the woman who stayed up late helping with homework, who never missed a game, who whispered words of encouragement before every challenge. To her mother, she was not just a daughter but a partner in life, someone who checked in daily, who carried the weight of responsibility with grace. She worked tirelessly, loved deeply, and believed in building others up. That's what made her sudden, violent death so incomprehensible. And the man accused of taking her life? Her own husband, Staff Sergeant Jonathan Henning, a man sworn to protect his country, yet prosecutors say he unleashed terror in his own home. What drove him to pull the trigger? Why did the cameras inside their home capture a nightmare instead of a love story? And how did the justice system handle a case that would leave Ashley's family and community crying out for answers? This is the story of Ashley Henning, the military wife whose birthday ended in bloodshed, whose death exposed hidden truths about love, control, and the devastating price of silence. Welcome and be blessed. Subscribe to our channel, like, and leave a comment. Thank you so much for your support. Stay with us till the very end. Now, let's go back to the story. Ashley first met Jonathan Henning in 2015 at a military appreciation event in Louisville. He was tall, confident, carrying the discipline of a soldier in every step. To Ashley, who had always admired service members, Jonathan seemed like the kind of man who could provide stability, honor, and security. Their connection was instant, and within a year, the two were married. At first, it felt like a fairy tale. Friends recall how Jonathan would bring Ashley flowers just because, how he seemed proud to have her on his arm, how he spoke of building a future together. For a time, that future looked bright. But as months turned to years, the fairy tale began to unravel. Jonathan's military career kept him away from home for long stretches, and when he returned, the man Ashley once knew wasn't the same. He became distant, then demanding. Arguments erupted over small things: what Ashley wore, who she spent time with, even how often she called her mother. What started as subtle comments about her independence grew into controlling behaviors that friends couldn't ignore. One close friend recalled Ashley pulling her aside after a block party. "Girl, sometimes I don't even recognize him anymore. It's like he wants me to shrink myself just so he can feel big." Those words, spoken quietly and with a nervous laugh, carried a weight Ashley tried to mask. By 2022, the tension had escalated. Family members noticed Jonathan's resentment toward Ashley's close bond with her son and her mother. He complained about always coming second. He wanted more control, more obedience, more submission. And in private moments, Ashley confided that she sometimes felt unsafe. Text messages later revealed she had begun journaling her fears. "If anything happens to me, promise you'll take care of my boy." Still, Ashley stayed, partly out of hope that things would change, partly out of fear of what leaving might provoke. Those who loved her saw a woman juggling roles: mother, daughter, wife, friend, while carrying the hidden burden of a marriage that was slowly suffocating her spirit. No one could have predicted that the birthday meant to celebrate her life would expose just how dangerous those cracks had become. September 10th, 2023. Ashley's 35th birthday. The day began with laughter, hugs, and family calls. Her mother stopped by with flowers, her son gave her a handmade card, and friends flooded her social media with birthday wishes. To everyone watching, it looked like Ashley was surrounded by love. That evening, Jonathan suggested they go out for a late drive, just the two of them. He said he wanted to talk, to start fresh, to make things right after weeks of tension. Ashley's best friend later recalled Ashley's hesitant smile in a text that night. "He says he wants to spend time. I'm not sure, but I'll go. I'll check in later." That check-in never came. By 11:30 p.m., Ashley's mother grew worried. Ashley always sent a goodnight text, even if she was out late. This time, silence. Her phone rang without answer. Messages sat unread. Hours passed, and that mother's instinct, the one that knows when something is terribly wrong, tightened its grip. By 2 a.m., concern turned into panic. Ashley's son kept asking, "Where's Mom?" She promised she'd be back. Her mother called hospitals, friends, even Jonathan's number, but there was no response. Detectives quickly zeroed in on Jonathan Henning. He was Ashley's husband, the last known person to see her alive, and his behavior in those crucial first hours raised more questions than answers. When officers arrived at his home just after Ashley's body was discovered, Jonathan was calm, too calm. He claimed he hadn't seen his wife since earlier that night. "She went out after the party. I thought she was with friends," he said. But detectives already knew that wasn't true. They had obtained surveillance footage from a neighbor's security camera. It showed Jonathan's truck pulling back into their driveway around 11:47 p.m., the same window Ashley was last seen alive. Minutes later, a flash of movement inside their home kitchen. Jonathan and Ashley arguing. Her hands raised in frustration, his shoulders squared in aggression. Then suddenly, Ashley collapsing to the floor as a gun is raised. The video didn't have sound, but the violence needed no words. Even more damning? The footage caught Jonathan moments later dragging Ashley's body toward the garage, then returning to the kitchen, retrieving something from a drawer. Investigators believe it was additional ammunition. When detectives searched the home, they found a pistol with Jonathan's fingerprints, recently fired. In the garage, faint blood spatter matched Ashley's DNA, and in the couple's bedroom, a spare magazine clip, half empty, tucked under the mattress. But it was the 911 call that turned the tide. Before police even released Jonathan's name, neighbors reported hearing muffled yelling, then silence. One caller said they distinctly heard Ashley's voice cry out, "Put the gun down! Please, just stop!" Followed by sharp cracks that echoed into the night. Jonathan's story of being a victim of years of abuse began to crumble under the weight of evidence. Text messages from Ashley to her closest friends revealed the opposite. Ashley had confided about being controlled, about his jealousy, about his temper spiraling. One message sent just days before her death read, "He's watching me constantly. I feel like I can't breathe in my own home. If anything happens to me, it won't be an accident." That chilling premonition now stood as her final testimony. Then, at 5:40 a.m., just before dawn, a 911 call came in from a quiet residential street in Louisville. A neighbor, preparing for an early morning shift, had spotted a car idling awkwardly at the curb. Inside, slumped in the passenger seat, was a woman motionless, with blood visible on her chest. Police arrived within minutes. The victim was quickly identified as Ashley Bell. A single gunshot wound to her chest. No sign of struggle inside the car, no purse, no phone. Just silence and a life cut short on the very day meant to celebrate her existence. Detectives knew from the start this wasn't random. The clean, precise nature of the shooting, the abandoned vehicle, the missing belongings, it all suggested someone close, someone who wanted the scene to send a message. And when officers traced the vehicle back to Jonathan Henning, the husband who was supposed to protect her, the puzzle pieces began to form a chilling picture. When the trial of Jonathan Henning began, the courtroom was packed to the brim with Ashley's grieving family on one side and Jonathan's stiff-faced supporters on the other. The prosecution wasted no time. They opened with the haunting surveillance footage showing...
Now, for what's tipping the scales of justice, we're waiting to see if the defendant in the military wife or trial will take the stand. Friday, the jury saw video of the moments leading up to the of Ashley Henning, as she and her husband, Jordan, were arguing in their kitchen after Ashley's birthday party. Things escalated quickly. Absolutely horrific what's seen in that video. And Henning could be seen crying in front of the jury while that video was being played. So what is testifying going to do for him? You know, when we heard that 911 call before seeing the video, you know, he talks a lot about how he is the victim of abuse, right? Saying he's been abused by his wife for years and just couldn't take it anymore. Then you see the video and it paints a very different picture. Can he say anything that can help himself today? Let's talk about that. I want to bring back in attorney and lawmaker Tommy Pope.
And I'll stop it right there. Peace and blessings, ladies and gentlemen. All praises to the Most High. So there you have Jordan Henning, the military guy from Kentucky, who was accused of taking the life of our dear sister right here, beautiful black sister Ashley Henning, 37-year-old Ashley Henning, who was unfortunately his wife. She made the life-damning decision to marry this man, and he took her life after a birthday party on her 37th birthday. And this happened in June of 2023. And last week, he was on trial a couple of weeks ago, claiming that he suffered years of emotional and verbal and physical abuse, which caused him to snap. and his defense was severe emotional disturbance, which did not get the conviction of first-degree premeditated unalivement, as you see in that video. But the jury gave him first-degree manslaughter. And that I'm going to show you that clip from the court case, but I'm also going to show you his testimony, which him claiming that, he was scared for his life from our beautiful sister. And a little backstory on the case. It happened once again on her 37th birthday. Both members of the couple were military. They had a party, and the guy somehow got preoccupied, or he got in his feelings when allegedly, now we don't know because we're not able to talk to her, but she was like, don't touch me or whatever when the friends was there. So he got in his little feelings, and after the friends left, he got mad, got in an argument with her, and then he grabbed his pistol, ended up shooting her 4 times, going back to another room to reload, then shooting her another time. Then he spit on her lifeless body. Now, if anybody knows anything about spitting, when you spit on somebody, that is definitely a sign of this extreme hatred and disdain. But just watch this clip real quick from the court case and, hear our dear sister's family speak about their disappointment with the judgment.
Case of Commonwealth, Kentucky versus Jordan Henning. The verdict on the penalty phase is we, the jury, fix the defendant's punishment for the offense of first-degree manslaughter under instruction number 1 at 20 years, signed by the foreperson. Again, let me ask, is that the unanimous verdict of the entire jury? All 12 members? All right, thank you.
That was the sentence handed down to Jordan Henning, what many are calling a shocking sentence for the crime. 20 years for killing his wife, Ashley. Is that enough? A jury convicted Jordan Henning of the lesser charge of first-degree manslaughter, which really did surprise those who had been watching the trial and saw those damning and highly disturbing surveillance videos. We were all able to see how Jordan Henning chased his beautiful wife the night of her birthday, hitting her repeatedly, coming back after his gun jammed and spitting on her. Ashley's friends and family were in distress over what they considered a very lenient sentence. And we saw Ashley's cousin not holding back his disdain and outrage for the jury's decision.
I have one more thing to say. I've served this country for almost 22 years. 22 years in the Marine Corps. I've deployed 7 times to a combat operation, to combat zones. 9 times total deployed. And this is the justice that America gives me. It's unthinkable, unspeakable, it's disgusting. Thank you, John. Cowards. Every single one of you.
Any cross-examination?
Every single one of you are cowards.
Prosecutors argued that after Ashley's birthday party, Jordan flew into a rage. His defense team said there was more to the story than the video showed. They made the argument that Jordan was a victim of physical and mental abuse and simply broke. Clearly, the jury believed him in the story that he told on the witness stand. And we know that Ashley's family is understandably heartbroken. And I'm so pleased to be having on the show this morning Ashley's cousin, who we saw speaking out, John Williams, and Ashley's dear friend, Holly Victorino. May I just start by, John, first of all, saying thank you for your service, and to you and to Holly and everyone else in Ashley's family and friend circle who misses her so much. We are so sorry for your loss. I know this is
Ashley's final moments, the jurors' faces tightened as the video replayed Jonathan raising the pistol, Ashley collapsing, and Jonathan leaving the frame only to return to fire again, prosecutors described him as cold, calculated, and consumed by control. They called Ashley's cousin to the stand, who testified through tears that Ashley had confided about Jonathan's jealousy and violent temper. She told me she was scared of him, scared he'd snap one day, she said. The defense, on the other hand, painted Jonathan as a broken man. They claimed he had suffered years of verbal and emotional abuse from Ashley. They argued that on the night of the shooting he was under severe emotional disturbance and snapped in a moment of weakness. Jonathan himself took the stand, choking back what the prosecution called crocodile tears, telling the jury he was afraid for his life and that Ashley attacked him and wouldn't stop. But the prosecution dismantled his claims, pointing out that nowhere in the surveillance footage was Ashley seen attacking him. Instead, the video showed him chasing her down, reloading, and spitting on her lifeless body, a gesture the prosecutor called pure hatred, not fear. The jury watched in silence. Ashley's mother broke down in sobs as Jonathan described himself as the victim. The prosecution's closing argument was searing. Ashley was the one begging for her life. Ashley was the one executed in her own home, and Ashley will never tell her story because Jonathan made sure of that. Yet despite the damning evidence, the jury returned with a lesser conviction. First-degree manslaughter. They recommended the maximum sentence allowed under that charge, 20 years in prison. Gasps filled the courtroom. Ashley's family wept openly. Her cousin John Williams stood and shouted, "This is not justice! This is cowardice!" His voice shaking with rage. The judge banged the gavel for silence, but the emotion was uncontrollable. For Ashley's loved ones, it felt like her life had been reduced to a number, a sentence far too light for a crime so merciless. Outside the courthouse, the outrage was raw and unfiltered. Ashley's mother clutched her daughter's photo, whispering, 20 years is not enough. She deserved better. Reporters swarmed as her cousin John Williams, a decorated Marine with over 22 years of service, stepped to the microphones, his voice breaking with fury. "I've risked my life for this country, deployed to combat zones again and again, and this is the justice America gives my family? My cousin was slaughtered on her birthday, shot over and over and spat on, and he gets 20 years? It's disgusting, it's cowardly. Every single juror who voted for this should be ashamed." His words echoed across national headlines. Ashley's close friend Holly Victorino wept on live television, saying, "She was light, she was laughter, she gave to everyone, and this is what she got in return." The family felt betrayed not just by Jonathan, but by the justice system that they believed valued his life more than Ashley's. Social media exploded with anger, people calling the verdict a slap in the face to black women everywhere. Many pointed to the larger issue that when white men harm black women, the system bends, excuses are made, sentences are lighter. Protests erupted in Louisville with signs reading, "Justice for Ashley and her life mattered." Community leaders demanded reforms, while Ashley's son quietly asked his grandmother, "Why can't mommy come home?" A question no one could answer. The aftermath left scars deeper than the trial, a family broken, a community shaken, and a justice system once again questioned for its blind spots and biases.
I believe that the time that I tried to touch her then.
You had talked about sex previously in your in testimony, but apart from sex, was there intimacy in this relationship, affection?
No, Ashley, she wasn't. Her love language was acts of service and quality time, and so it was really hard at times for us to connect. Especially with mine being physical touch, she just a lot of times just didn't want to be touched. So we weren't really physically intimate.
What did she say when you did try to touch her that evening?
Get off me.
What happened next?
I took that phone call. Everyone was congregating in the driveway. Everyone starts to get in their car, and I I walk over to Ashley, and we're waving and we're saying our goodbyes, and I put my hand up on her neck and her shoulder again, and she shrugged me off. She's like, "Stop touching me." Okay. And that's where you hear her start to go into the house on the video, and that's the events that followed. We go into the house, and we start cleaning up, and I told her, I was like, hey, I just want to, what do you want me to clean up? Like, I just want to do something nice for you. Like, it seemed like you accept I just remember thinking like you accept everybody else's love and gifts and everything else, but like constantly rejecting me. And I asked her, I was like, hey, please let me do this, let me serve you, she told me just clean something up. And so I go down to the basement. I remember taking glasses down to the basement from the bars. We had a lot of stuff, a lot of that stuff. And then I remember hearing her screaming my name. I was just thinking, what did I do? What did I do now? And she was saying about this slip and slide that we talked about with Carter and the kids earlier that day, that, hey, if you're going to bring it out, and we all agreed, me, her, and him, that, hey, if he's going to bring this out, he needs to put it away. She wanted to do it for him, and I wasn't okay with that. Like, no, we agreed on this. Like, his parents were supposed to be united, and I was upset at her for just overriding me. She overruled me on everything, it felt like, and so I started yelling for Carter. He's up in the shower, and he's on a whole other floor. Tyler playing his computer, playing his Xbox, and Carter's in the water, and so I'm yelling loud, and yes, I was upset, and I was yelling, and we go outside. Carter, I'm trying to show him, like, hey, this is where I was pointing to the drain spout on this slip and slide because it would collect water on the end of it, and she's out there with us, and that's I kept telling him, he was like, where is it? Because it's getting dark. And I was like, it's right here. I was frustrated. And that's when she grabbed me around my balls and started smacking me. And I started telling her, let go, stop, please, let go. And I'm yelling at her. And she's pulling me from where the slip and slide was set up over to kind of the porch area. And as she's pulling me, I went to reach out for the banister, and I didn't grab the banister, I grabbed Carter, and somehow he ended up in between us, and I heard him scream. I finally got a hold of her wrist, and I pried her off of me, and I restrained her wrist up by her head, and I was like, stop. And she had told him to go get Jimmy. And we're arguing, and Jimmy comes over and starts screaming at me, get off of her. And when I finally let up and let go of her wrist and stood up, he shoved me down onto my steps. And I just remember thinking, like, dude, you don't even know what's going on. Like, you don't understand even how we got to this point. Like, what are you attacking me for? I wasn't sitting on top of her, hitting her. I wasn't hurting her. I was just holding her wrist down. And when he shoved me down, she told him to run. And I don't know. I just took off after him. Like I was upset. I was mad.
That she didn't want anything to do with him. She was saying things that caused him to be upset. Let's go back in. The defendant is on direct examination.
Put him into a combative headlock, and I just held him there until he would stop. Just stop. And finally he was tapping my leg, and I let him go, and he was like, I'm grabbing my gun. And I don't know, I was scared. I took off as fast as I could upstairs to my room where I had my pistol, and I I remember grabbing my pistol and my spare magazine and just thinking, like, this is how I'm gonna die. Like, my friend is going to kill me. And I ran back downstairs, and I didn't know where he went. I didn't know if he had left the property. I didn't know. And so I'm outside, and I was just mad. I was scared. I don't know. And I just remember seeing him and Chris Becker and Chris's truck pull up, and Chris Becker and him coming over, and I saw that he had something in his hand, and it looked like a gun. And then I don't know. A lot of it's a blur. I was so fucking mad, and I was just upset, and my wife had just attacked me yet again, and I didn't know what else she would do, and I thought my friend was going to kill me over it. I didn't know what was going on, and it was just chaos. And I just broke. I don't know. Next thing I remember, I'm standing over top of her shooting. I didn't know how I got to that point, or what was going on.
Ashley Henning should still be here today celebrating birthdays, raising her son, and living her dreams. But instead, her life was stolen in the most brutal way by the very man who vowed to protect her. The courtroom gave him 20 years, but no sentence can measure the depth of loss her family feels. No verdict can bring back her laughter, her hugs, her voice silenced forever, and yet her story must not fade into another statistic. Ashley's death is a reminder that silence is dangerous, that unchecked abuse escalates, and that justice is not always equal. Too often, victims are painted as aggressors while perpetrators hide behind excuses, but truth always speaks even when the system tries to muffle it. Ashley's final texts, her cries on that video, her family's tears, all demand that we remember and demand change. We cannot let her name be forgotten. So I ask you, watching now, to honor her life by refusing to be silent. Share her story. Demand justice for women who no longer have a voice. And most importantly, protect those around you who may be trapped in cycles of abuse. This is not just Ashley's fight. It is all of ours. Because the next story could be someone you love. Thank you for watching. And please, if you value stories like these that expose injustice and honor victims, subscribe to this channel, like and share this video so more people can hear Ashley's. Truth together, we can make sure her voice echoes far beyond the courtroom walls.